Yo, Mana Squad, if you like any of the cards you see in today's video, make sure to hit up the affiliate link down below to TCG Player. You can help look up some of your local game stores in the process and help show the channel some love. And you know you got to look good while you play in order to play good. So make sure you hit up our link to Into the AM as well. We have the discount code down in the description below. Look, you got to listen to Kenneth the Heathen. He always says something about dripping in space and screaming. We don't know what it means, but do what the man says. And last but not least, hit up Heavy Play. Heavy Play is going to have some of the nicest playmats and deck boxes out there. Their magnet system between their deck box and dice trays and playmat is amazing, especially if you're playing at like bars, restaurants, stuff like that. You got to get up and move. There is no better way to keep all your stuff together, and you can show the channel some love in the process. Stay petty. Yo, welcome back to One More Mana. My name is Derik. It is a mess around me. I am incredibly late packing for Gen Con, and I am ready to yell about the cards in Bloomburrow. I cannot wait to go on some unhinged rants here. Bloomburrow, I'm not gonna lie, this set caught me off guard. Wasn't super hyped about it. Like, I love cute animals, but was like just figuring it would be like, oh, instead of cowboy hats, now it's a bunny. This is a wonderful set. I love everything about it so far, and there are some cards I cannot wait to talk about. So we're gonna jump right into this list, talking about the 5 most bruh worthy cards. I don't even know if I talked about what video it is. It's the top 5 bruh video, and you know these are the cards that make me feel some type of way, make me feel something, and just make me need to go on rants that my girlfriend and cat are so sick of listening to. So jumping into this list at number 5, we have Chamelia, the Seed Miser. Squirrels are cute. We all know, I guess depending on what part of the country. I know in some places squirrels are like big and scary. I think like the Midwest, like squirrels are like they lift and they come to cause problems. But where I grew up in South Florida, squirrels were little, kind of looked like little cat bunny fusions, and they were adorable, and I loved them. And I was like, oh cool, squirrel decks, this is great. Now we got stuff like Toski and Chatterfang, and it went from, oh, it's a cute squirrel deck to, I'm about to beat your face in with squirrels. Oh, this is like the scariest. Like, if you ever play against the Chatterfang, you have the 1 minute of like, it's a squirrel, and then immediately there's 200 of them. You can sack things and do all this, and it's like, yeah, it's a squirrel deck, but it's really just a busted token strategy. And I really feel like, and even with the precon squirrel, well, there's squirrels everywhere in this set. With the precon squirrel, it's still it's giving you mana advantage. It's doing all of these generically really powerful things, and it doesn't feel squirrely to me. It just doesn't. But Chamelia does. Chamelia is 1, a black and a green for a 3/3 squirrel warlock. A squirrel lock has menace. Other squirrels have menace. And whenever you sacrifice 1 or more foods, you get a squirrel. So you're just putting these food out for the squirrels to chomp down on, and they're all coming out. And then you can also forage, which means you either exile cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food to buff your squirrels. This feels on flavor. You got foods, you got squirrels, you find the cutest tokens imaginable. It's gonna probably be somewhat powerful, but I don't think this will spiral in the same way because you need those food synergies and things like that. Look, Chamelia, I'm gonna find a deck to put you in. I will make sure I either build a deck around you or not, because you seem it. And also, it's a scary squirrel. There's skulls in the background. Like, it's like when if you have a cat or a dog, like especially cats. Cats think they're so tough, and they like bow up and they're like ready to fight you, even though they're a foot tall. That's the energy I'm getting from Chamelia. Got skulls in the back, ready to fight, ready to throw little squirrely paws, and I love every second of it. At number 4, we're going to talk about Miss Bumbleflower. And bruh, the thing I love about Miss Bumbleflower is, side rant, there's going to be plenty of those. I can't stand group hug. Group hug is, and maybe other people feel this way, I feel like it's just a douche most times when if someone plays group hug at a table, I am going all in and attacking them. Every chance I get, I cannot stand group hug, because it always feels like at least one commander at the table is going to be doing something unfair and busted. Somebody's going to be rolling up with that Mirum or that Corvold or this or that, and that group hug player, oh, I'm helping everyone. No, what you're doing is you're helping everyone, but the deck that's the most powerful is going to pop off first, and then who could have seen it coming? There's 700 dragons and we're all dead. Whoopsie. No group hug, because I like to think with my decks, and might not be the world's greatest deck builder, but I can build a little bit. I like to put a lot of card draw and ramp in my decks. I really focus on that. I like to put a lot of lands in my decks. I notice a lot of people don't. And when all of a sudden the group hug player is essentially covering for the weaknesses of everyone else's deck, that person who's sitting down with 29 lands and somehow doesn't have their heart beating at like some, I don't know heartbeat counts, but a lot of beats a minute, you are making up for them, and all of a sudden they get to prosper for making poor decisions. I don't like that. So group hug, rant aside, not a fan. But what I love about Miss Bumbleflower is it's not the generic help everyone. I love the concept of group hug being more of like a political. I'll be selective with my hugs. I'm not just gonna be that person running up hugging everyone. Like that's kind of strange vibes. I'm gonna be the person who hugs specifically, so you can make deals with Miss Bumbleflower, help specific player draw cards. I love the concept if somebody falls behind, they're missing land drops, they're just behind in the game. You can help out that player specifically and not give resources to the person who's already playing at advantage with the busted commander. I love what Miss Bumbleflower is doing. Feel kind of bad for the person playing it because there's like 700 triggers a game because every time you cast a spell you got to make decisions. But I really like the direction it's pushing group hug, and I think if more people play group hug that way, I wouldn't go on unhinged rants and feel like a douche for doing so. Now we're gonna move over to number 3, the number 3 most bro worthy thing in this set, and this is, I'm gonna say something positive about Ward. That's a bruh in and of itself. I feel like there's been a lot of discourse, feelings, all that type of stuff about how Ward is just, they're doing too much. There's Ward on everything, and some of the most busted things, whether it's a Mirum or whether it's a, oh gosh, I always call it the Voja. There we go, Voja. So many of these cards have Ward that just doesn't feel like it's needed, to the point where I feel like I've blocked the name Voja out of my head just for my own sanity and safety. All these cards just feel so busted, and it's high ward cost. And I think I talked about this in a previous video, ranting about this, talking about I miss the creative ward cost. I miss where you can do it, but it's some sort of small disadvantage. And this set does a great job of that. So one example, we got Igra, Eater of All, Ward, Sacrifice of Food, and it turns your creatures into food. So if it's not like, oh, I don't have food, I can't do anything. You do have to pay the cost, but there's ways to make it. Maybe you want to sacrifice a creature. Maybe you have a bunch of sack fodder on your board. There's ways to make it so it doesn't just like, I have to use my entire turn spending mana on something. It's interesting. It creates a way of like, ooh, this is actually kind of cool. Maha, every time I hear Maha, I just think of, if y'all ever watched the Amanda Show, the whole Maha, like that is how I read this, is Maha, the feathers, or it's feathers night. Yeah. It has another cool one where it's Ward, discard a card. Again, that might actually turn on certain strategies. If you're playing against a deck with like Dredge or Reanimator or something, you're actually helping them by just giving them a free discard outlet to remove your creature. But it's creative, it's interesting. It's one of those things where there's ups and downs for each player. And it's also one of those things you don't have to take your whole turn. It's not going to turn your Swords to Plowshare into the most inefficient removal spell, but there is a cost associated with it, and I absolutely love that. And the last one that I think has a cool one, and this is one I feel like is just, this is probably one of my favorite ward costs, is just paying life. And Gev, the Scaled Scorch, has just Ward pay 2 life. I love that. Moves games along, life totals get moving. And again, you're essentially in Commander, you have 40 life. You're almost always going to be able to pay this. It's a very small inconvenience, so it makes that difference. Technically, there's some small deterrent there, but it's not this thing, again, forcing you to take a whole turn to sword something ridiculous like that. So I love all these ward costs. I think there are some regular wards in the set as well, but these are ones that stick out, and I really hope this is something that we see more of going forward. Love interesting wards. Now at number two most bro-worthy card, and this is one of the most excited bros ever, it is the 3-Tree City. Bro, this card is busted in the best way. I love it. 3-Tree City, when it ETBs, you choose a creature type. You can either tap for colorless, or you can pay 2, tap it, choose a color, and then add any amount of that color equal to the number of creatures you control of that type. One of my favorite cards in Magic is Gaia's Cradle. Ken hates that I play it, and so I try to I have a couple copies, put them in whatever green decks I love. And the thing is, I don't like to use it as fast mana. Most of these decks that I play it in, I don't play it in decks that just like creature, first 4 turns, tap for 5 mana, pop off. No, I use it in decks that really have like cool and interesting but high mana cost win con. So an example is I have a CDC spider spawning deck I like to use as a win con, where I cast spider spawning like 3, 4, 5 times in a turn with regrowths and stuff, and just make like 100 spiders. But you can only do that if you have an absurd amount of mana, and I don't like to make infinite mana. So Cradle does a great job of being that like late game thing. The problem is it's Cradle, so it's just completely busted, and there's no like, I wouldn't believe myself if I was like playing it on turn 2. Oh, it's for the late game. Like, no, I'm gonna blow it up and then hit you afterwards. Like, no, I don't believe it. 3-Tree City is actually gonna replace Cradle in a lot of the decks I run it in, because it does exactly the same thing, but without that immediate threat of, are they going to combo off and win? And on top of that, it also taps for colorless. So one of the things, Cradle, if you have no creatures, it doesn't tap for mana. So some of the decks I run it in, I'll mull if I have it in my opening hand, because it's sometimes useless if you don't have enough creatures, or if you have no creatures to get started, you can't have that as like your one green source. It taps for colorless, but it is just such a cool concept that you can have it early. And even if it's not a creature type based deck, if you just have certain token effects and things like that, this is the late game finisher I've always wanted Cradle to be without that high threat evaluation associated with it. It's awesome. And Brian, I'm so excited to just start forcing this into whatever decks I can. Now at number one most worthy thing about this set, typically I'll try to like throw a bunch of random things and like I'll just look at all the cards in the set and I'll just stare. And do I feel, bruh? Do I experience, bruh? And if I don't, then I just move along. This one was from the start, I knew what I had to do. And we'll use Tender Wild Guy as an example, but it's just the Offspring mechanic as a whole, bruh. We need to have a talk. How do you if y'all seen these Offspring tokens? We're gonna throw them on the screen at some point. I think these things are adorable. They are the cutest little mother effers I've ever seen. How am I supposed to kill them? Like, if you got these on a board, like, I can't even discipline my cat. Like, my cat will literally smack me in the face, punch me, chew on an expensive magic card, launch my phone across the room, and then he gives me little eyes, and I'm like, well, now I can't do anything. I just gotta scratch his head and give him a hug. Like, I have no choice. And then you get little baby cartoon animals. To make it even cuter, you see like their grown self next to the baby self with Offspring. Like, how, bruh, I'm not, you know what? Screw it. If you play against me, play Offspring, there is zero chance I'm using removal on any of your little, maybe the older versions, you know what? They're natural selection. Nature does crazy stuff there. That's fine. I'll knock those off. The babies, I will protect them. No one kill the Offspring babies under my watch. They're so fucking cute. That is gonna do it for this week's video. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. I love this set. I don't think I really had anything negative to say. They knocked it out of the park between the commander decks, the main set, the legendary creatures, the mechanics, the art. This has a chance to be like one of my favorite sets in a very long time, and I came in with zero hype and zero excitement. So that says a lot. Let me know in the comments below what y'all think. Is anything in this set making you say bruh? Are y'all excited about anything in this set? How do you feel about it as a whole? And am I crazy for being so hyped for it? Also, if anybody out there is listening, would you ever kill an Offspring token? Because if you would, I don't know if we can be friends. But yo, random, this is going to release while we're at Gen Con. If you are here there watching that, come find us. We'll be somewhere. Typically, we're there till like 4 a.m. every night playing Magic, and the only ones there. So we're very easy to find. But yes, so many exciting things to come. But until then, stay petty.